So I've been waiting on the Saints Row reboot, all its patches, all its DLC, all its nonsense, to maybe see, hey, maybe we'll get a better game, a more complete game, etc., right? Wait for it to come out on Steam with a discount so I could compare it to every other game in the franchise, maybe make a retrospective, blah, 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 and the company's dead. The literal Saints Row 1 anniversary and the company that made it is dead. You did not go out with a bang, but with a whimper. It's been around for like, what, 20-something years? I mean, Saints Row 1, just think about this. This was announced days after Saints Row 1, the first game, had its 17th anniversary. Oh, actually, it's been around, wait, I'm capping. It's been around way longer than that. But Saints Row 1 just had its 17th anniversary, now the company is dead. That has to be poetic. Almost like now you can finally rest, Saints Row. Oh my. I'm being corny, but like the reboot, I don't think the reboot is the worst thing since the atomic bomb or anything like that, like some people making out to be. But that after what we told you with Saints Row 3, 4, God of Hell, Agents of Mayhem, the reboot should have not happened. I don't know if it was Deep Silver or Volition, if it was Volition or Deep Silver, like Flippy is saying, or higher ups, blah blah blah. That should not have happened. Someone was in charge and someone failed. Simple as that. And now Volition is done. So personally, I don't think it was exclusively the reboot that got them shut down, as fun as it would be to run with that headline. But there's no way it didn't play a role, because it's just too perfect timing. The thing's barely been out for a year, and now the company that made it and the entire franchise is shutting down. But what I really think it is just a string of failures and bad reception. I just think the Saints Row franchise and its developers have lost steam, because Agents of Mayhem was a huge, and I can probably find evidence to suggest this. Agents of Mayhem probably put Volition on their last legs, and the next game, which would have to be a Saints Row game, had to do very well in order for them to recover from that. I just think, hey, they saw Agents of Mayhem, they saw Saints Row reboot, they may have seen like Saints Row 4 or something, and decided, hey, well, this deal with Saudi Arabia fell through, so just can Volition. And so I know a lot of people are happy about this, and well, first of all, some people like Flippy are saying it wasn't even Volition's fault in the first place. But regardless of whose fault it was, this is the company that made Saints Row, man, right? I was never really a I like GTA San Andreas, but I was never really a GTA guy, right? So it's sad to see the company that made Saints Row 1 and 2, regardless of it getting shut down or them no longer being able to recreate that or do the patch or any of that stuff. It's sad to see them go, right? And not only that, but there's also people here losing their jobs. So again, as fun as it might be to say, hey, oh, this trash game got a company shut down, ha ha ha. I don't really feel like that, right? I understand the sentiment, but Saints Row is probably one of my favorite franchises of all time. Again, I like it more than GTA at its peak. So it's incredibly likely this franchise has no future. An actual miracle would have to happen in order for Saints Row to recover from this. And they are in the hands of somebody named Playon or Gearbox or something. Well, I heard Volition was being absorbed by Gearbox. So maybe it's with them or with Playon, or maybe they'll be sold off. We don't know. The fact that we don't know at this point does not make it look bright, right? And there's still that Saints Row 2 patch, which had to be created, had to be fixed. Don't know what's going on with that. Matter of fact, let me say something about the Saints Row 2 patch. I'm not an insider or nothing, but I have been keeping up with some inside sources, not being relayed to me, but being relayed third party. The patch was not canceled or nothing. The patch was at worst on the back burner. And Idle Ninja, again, I have no direct contact with him, but he did say in the Saints Row Discord server, which is public, that the last people who were going to be working on the patch were the architects of the Saints Row 1 engine. It's likely they're no longer working there or whatever, but before he died, he did say those were the people working on that. So the patch has not been dead as people have been keep saying. However, now, I have no idea. I've looked up and down. I have no idea what's going on with the patch. So, and that Saints Row 2 patch, that at the very least, it means so much to the community, the fans, Idol Ninja, right? His final work he worked on, right? Saints Row 2 is the best game. Nobody criticize. I see no criticism for that game like 3 or 4 or reboot or whatever, right? So at the very least they could do if this franchise is gonna die is complete that patch, but they may not even have the means to do it because all their employees is fired. So who's gonna work on it? They could get a third party company to work on it, or again, Idle Ninja said the architects of the Saints Row 1 engine, he got them on board to work on it. So maybe whatever company has Saints Row, whoever that may be, maybe they'll get the patch and finish that up. Or maybe someone will leak it, right? According to Flippy, the progress was being good. But the fact that we don't know, the fact that Flippy might not even know, bruh, that's not looking bright. That's not looking bright. So, since the franchise is dead, I might as well relay my personal history with Saints Row, which is a little weird. So, I did get in with Saints Row 3. Actually, no, I did. My first introduction to Saints Row was Saints Row 1, but it was through my uncle. And I didn't really know much about the game until I got to the franchise until I got to Saints Row 3, but I did see him play Saints Row 1. I did see, oh, it's cool. Oh, this is cool. This kind of looks like GTA. Whatever. So, a few years later, I got Saints Row 3 for free, and I thought, oh, okay, this is gonna be like what I saw of Saints Row 1, right? This is gonna be a GTA game. Well, I didn't think it was gonna be a GTA game, but I thought it was. Oh, it's gonna be just as cool as GTA, etc., etc. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the game, right? I'm not gonna retroactively say, oh, this game is trash, blah 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 blah. It is still a fun time, right? I have the remaster. I had fun with it, but nevertheless, it is inferior to Saints Row 2. And I'm glad that I saw Saints Row 3, decided to look into the franchise and saw, oh, look at this game, Saints Row 2. And I had fun with Saints Row 2. If I can find the picture, I'll show you my very first character that I made in Saints Row 2 and whatnot, along with some mods and modded Saints Row 1, all that nonsense. And then around the same time, apparently the Saints Row 2 anniversary was going on or something on Steam, and the game was straight up free, so I grabbed it. So I got pretty lucky, and I'm glad I experienced Saints Row 2, especially with Idle Ninja's Gentleman of the Road patch, which, actually let me explain Idle Ninja. Long story short, Idle Ninja is a modder who was hired by the company that makes Saints Row to be a community manager and work on the patch after they found the source code for the game. So if you hear this name Idle Ninja a lot, just know that he's a fan turned employee who died of cancer and was working on a patch for the most critically acclaimed Saints Row game. That's why people are so tight about this patch. That's why I am too, because his mod, Gentleman of the Road, gave me lots of fun out of Saints Row 2, and it was amazing. I even told him myself how thankful I was for his work on the Gentleman of the Road, and he was humble about it. He was like, "Oh, this is spaghetti code, blah blah blah." But I was genuinely thankful for that, and now I really hope his work should be finished, because it would be unfair to him, it would be unfair to community, or at the very least release the source code or something. I don't know what the legal stuff is with that, but the franchise is dead. At the least y'all can do is do something. But I'm not in this company. I haven't worked at any of these companies, so I don't know how that would work. I'm not a lawyer, blah blah blah, all that nonsense. So now about Saints Row 1. I actually got into Saints Row 1 before the reboot came out. I have legally emulated it, right? And I found out how to make mods for it. So I will be uploading videos about Saints Row 1 mods. Maybe I'll do some tutorials, etc., etc. But Saints Row 1 is I think Saints Row 1 deserves a remake, right? If I was in charge of the Saints Row franchise, I would immediately make a Saints Row 1 remake with female character creation, proper aiming, etc., etc. Some missions would have to be changed slightly, right? I'd still keep the original feeling and stuff, because it is the first game. But Saints Row 1 and its vibe isn't even beat by Saints Row 2. I think Saints Row 1 is a very underrated game, and I would love to see it brought into the modern day properly and respectfully, of course. I don't mean like modern sensibilities, that type of stuff. So overall, despite all the nonsense regarding the reboot, the haters gonna hate all the. Actually, you know what? not like 90% of the stuff y'all know about the social media making fun of fans. That was literally just one person. Y'all realize that, right? Like, I'm not trying to cap for them, but it was one person. I'm not going to say their name. I don't want to divulge harassment or something, but yeah, and that was a community manager. That wasn't no developer saying that. There were developers on Twitter making memes, kind of crying, but they weren't running the Saints Row account. But regardless, I do think Volition dissolving is a bad thing. It's kind of, I mean, to be honest, I expect it. I mean, it was kind of expected, maybe even earlier. But Saints Row has been near and dear to my heart and the heart of many others. And to see that there's not even the slightest chance. Actually, you know what? If we're being honest, this really just ripped the band-aid off. I think anyone following this franchise for the past couple years would see the writing on the wall. So, even if you were holding on to the slightest amount of hope, you still knew that this franchise was probably not going to recover realistically. And all this did was confirm that and rip away that hope. I don't mean to be so edgy or pessimistic or whatever, but it's the truth. Saints Row, I mean, it depends on what type of fan you are, right? Maybe you like Saints Row 3 and 4, but after Got Out of Hell, Agents of Mayhem, and now this, like, what were you expecting? And if you liked 2 and 1, you haven't got, in your eyes, Saints Row has been failing for years, right? The goofy stuff with Saints Row 3, right? Saints Row 4, which was actually supposed to be a DLC, which they turned into a full game. Look it up. Got Out of Hell, Agents of Mayhem. I don't consider that a Saints Row game, but they use resources and marketing for Saints Row on that game. And now the reboot, like, how much can a company take, bro? It's like if Sega had 3 Sonic 06s in a row. Like, come on, bro. So, this is what happens when you continually keep failing. I hope whoever the Saints Row franchise ends up with actually learns from this, but I highly doubt it. I think maybe the Saints Row franchise will cross over with Fortnite or something, right? You'll see Johnny Gat one last time, and it'll be in Fortnite, which will be hilarious because people kept calling the reboot Fortnite. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll sell some merchandise or something. The franchise, the franchise, the IP is not put on rest, but I don't think they're making any new games. Maybe they'll have that patch, right? Nah. So anyways, as for me, I'm still going forward with my plan to upload some more Saints Row videos. I'll compare every single game now. I'll upload some mod related videos, some character customization related videos, all of that. But as for the future Saints Row itself, like, dang, man, but then that's what happens when you fail. And plus, it's not like they were any indie company, but they were nowhere near the size of Rockstar or anybody like that. So the fact that they survived this long was maybe that was your hope. I hope all the people working at Volition find new jobs, right? Their talent is, except for the writers, all their talent is respected at a new field, etc. But yeah, Saints Row, it's done. It's done, right? If anything, it should have ended with the Kill Killbane ending. You're not going to go out with a bang, but with a whimper. Damn, man, that bro predicted the future. Anyways, I'm done. This has been Jack. Yak. Good night.